Battle spirits. What just flashed into your brain after I said that? Was it a vague recollection of something from your childhood? A long-standing Japanese card game? Or a totally blank white space? My money's on the last one, but all three were the correct choice. Battle Spirits is a Japanese card game that has been around for one heck of a time. 13 years, 60 sets, and a bevy of side sets, demo decks, and the like. Yeah, it's been around the block. And now, they're launching it outside of Japan once again as Battle Spirits Saga. We have almost no information on the hows, the whens, and the whys of this game's release, so I thought it'd be fun to speculate for a minute on, frankly, how they're going to tackle this gargantuan job of bringing a 13-year-old card game to a global market. We have had plenty of Japanese card games try to break into a global market before, such as Duel Masters or Battle Spirits back in 2009, but it doesn't always work out. So, let's go over some ways Bandai could try and handle the release of Battle Spirits Saga. The first option, the re-release. This is the most unlikely option, because this option would see them, one by one, trying to reprint and relaunch the entire Battle Spirits card game from the very first set. That means printing and releasing 60 plus main sets and all the side sets over 13 years? Yeah, not gonna happen. From a business perspective, this is total suicide. Trying to sell a 13-year-old version of your game to a very modern market is not going to happen. But I figured I should at least talk about it, as it is an option they could pursue, but it would be the worst. The second option, playing catch-up. A more drastic way they could approach this issue is by making entirely new sets out of old sets. Now, a couple of card games have done things somewhat similar to this, primarily Japanese card games being released in global markets, because sometimes, because of their relative close proximity to the factories that actually print the cards, Japan is able to get away with a lot smaller card sets than we are able to in the West. So, historically, sometimes those mini sets will get chopped up, smashed together, and then shipped overseas, so that we'll actually buy it. There are a number of ways they could play catch-up, but the primary intention would be to 1. Create exciting sets that players will want to purchase. 2. Include cards across the game's entire 13-year history. 3. Only include cards that the Japanese competitive scene has proven to be good, or at least usable. This method would be used to cut out the chaff of Battle Spirits, the textless cards, the power-crept cards, the blatantly bad cards, in order to try and catch up our market to the Japanese market. Now, if they go with this route and their primary goal is to catch us up to the Japanese market, I imagine it should only take 1 or 2 years before we get there. But if they're really just trying to get some cash along the way, maybe 3 years. After which, they may decide to drop the whole Saga thing and just concurrently print Battle Spirits as both a global and Japanese card game, thus catching us up. Option 3. The Eternal Card Game. This is just my personal wish, let me be frank about that. The card game space is starting to get super crowded. Over the last couple of years, we've had several major card game launches that have cemented themselves as being major players. Dragon Ball, Digimon, Flesh and Blood, and hell, there are more on the way. So how's a game that's been out for 13 years supposed to capture people's attention and compete with these current games? Well, you can make it cheap as hell. What if instead of receiving the same old randomized product, we receive something that guarantees what we're going to get? For those who don't know the ECG model, that is, Eternal Card Game, it's pretty straightforward. It switches one major aspect of card game for something else. It takes out the randomized nature of packs in exchange for a dedicated product that you know what's in it. Think of it like speed duel boxes from Yu-Gi-Oh! They can make them yearly products, thematic products. Really, there's a ton of ways they could go with that idea. Option 4. The concurrent release. This last option is the most likely as it presents the least amount of work Bandai would need to do. Quite simply, it would be to take where they are in the current Battle Spirits in Japan, translate it to English, and then just start printing in English. This is exactly what Wixos did, finally bringing their card game out of the Japanese market and into the English market just last year. And they started from where they were in the Japanese sets, printing concurrently with English, and that's that. Think about it. For Bandai, this is the no-brainer. Since Bandai is already printing the sets anyway, it makes a lot of sense just to hire a couple of translators, fill the extra orders, and start shipping it across seas. So there's my thoughts on Battle Spirit Saga and how they could handle the global release. At the end of the day, I can kind of live with whatever they're going to release this game as I'm really just excited for the game. If you're unaware, Battle Spirits has actually had a pretty healthy history of crossing over with some pretty cool franchises. Kamen Rider, Evangelion, Godzilla, Gundam. Hell yeah. Sign me up. Get those cards in my hand, get those licenses signed. You can do whatever else you want with Battle Spirit Saga, just so long as I get my Godzilla.